reason that you probably shave your legs, a razor company made it up, like they genuinely invented it out of nothing in 1915 because they had sold a razor to every man in America and they needed a new customer, so they picked you. And that's just one thing, because so much of what we think of as just being a woman, the shaving, the diamond ring, girl math, half of the stuff in your bathroom, a lot of it was designed on purpose by men in marketing rooms who needed to hit a number. And once you know these stories, you genuinely cannot unsee them. So let me just ruin a few things for you real quick. And let's start with this company who invented the problem and then sold you the fix. So this is the shaving story because it's the perfect example of the entire marketing playbook. Before 1915, women in America did not really shave their legs. It wasn't a thing. Body hair on a woman was a total non-issue because dresses covered basically everything anyway, so nobody was looking and nobody really cared. It was a simpler time. But then Gillette came to ruin it all. They saturated the entire men's razor market because every man who wanted a razor had one, so growth had stalled, and some very clever person there did the math. What if we could double our customers overnight? There's this entire other half of the population who we've never sold to. There was just one problem. Women had no reason to buy a razor. So Gillette didn't invent a better razor, they invented a problem. They released a little razor called the My Lady Décolleté in 1915, and they ran ads in women's magazines that reframed totally normal armpit hair as unsightly, objectionable, embarrassing, and a actual personal hygiene problem that you should be ashamed of. And conveniently, fashion was showing more skin at the time, so the timing was perfect. And here's the part that's very interesting because it's so sneaky. The early ad did not even say shaving because that would be too aggressive. They said things like smoothing. They didn't say legs, but they did say limbs. And they softened the language so that it felt elegant and modern instead of like a chore that they invented to sell you blades. And what do you think? It worked. It worked so well that 100-something years later, you and I shave our legs in the shower without ever once questioning why, and if we don't, people call us unhygienic for a problem that a razor company made up in a boardroom to hit a sales target. That's not a beauty standard, that's a marketing campaign that never ended. And this is not a 1915 thing, because once you see the trick, inventing the security, selling the cure, you will start seeing it absolutely everywhere in marketing. So let me tell you another story, and this next one is genuinely a bit darker, and it's probably the most important story in this whole video, so stick with me. Cigarette company American Tobacco, the people behind Lucky Strike, had the same exact problem as Gillette had. Every man smokes already, the market is full, and there's this massive untapped group, women. But at the time, it was basically taboo for a woman to smoke in public. If you would do it on the street, people would look at you like you were a criminal. So the tobacco boss hires this guy called Edward Bernays, and you need to know who this man is. He's basically the father of modern PR, and he's Sigmund Freud's nephew, and he pretty much invented the art of manipulating the public without them noticing. His job was to get women smoking in public so that the company could double their market. Now, the next thing that he does is actually diabolical. He doesn't run ads saying, "Hey ladies, smoke." No, he hires a group of fashionable young women to march in the big New York Easter parade, and at a planned moment, all of them light up a cigarette in front of the crowd. But, and this is genius, but also evil, he tips off the press in advance and tells them these women are feminists, lighting what he called torches of freedom. So he framed it as a protest for women's rights and equality with men. It actually made the front page of New York Times, and again, it was framed as a spontaneous feminist statement. Nowhere did it mention that the whole thing was staged by a tobacco company or that the activist who led it was literally Bernays' own secretary. He took a deadly product and he wrapped it in the women's liberation movement so that he could sell women cancer and tell them it was freedom. And it worked. The share of cigarettes smoked by women more than doubled in a few years. And I'm telling you this old story for, again, a very current reason, because this is the exact move that is still being run on us today, just repackaged. Whenever a product is sold to you as empowering, as self-care, as treat yourself, you deserve it, you're a strong and independent woman, I need you to pause for 1 second and ask who profits from you believing that. Because empowerment is the most effective word in marketing to women, and it has been since 1915. And sometimes it is real, but most often it is just a boardroom decision wearing the costume of your liberation. Let's discuss a bit of a lighter one, but this one is also wild because of how deep it goes. It's the diamond engagement ring. So you think this this is a ancient romantic tradition, right? It's centuries old, but again, it's from the 1930s and it's a ad campaign. Before then, diamond engagement rings were pretty uncommon. In 1940, only about 10% of brides got one. But then a company called De Beers basically controlled the world's diamond supply, and they had a problem. Diamonds are actually not that rare, and nobody in particular needed one. So in 1938, they hire an ad agency and a copywriter named Francis Geraghty, and he writes 4 words that rewire the entire Western world: a diamond is forever. Genius, because look what it does. A diamond is forever. Your love is forever. So obviously, your love must be represented by a diamond. And forever also quietly tells you never to resell it, which conveniently means no secondhand market ever pops up to reveal that diamonds aren't actually worth what you paid. And then they went further than that, and this is the part that gets me. They straight up invented the rule that a ring should cost you a certain chunk of your salary. There was no tradition for this. They just made up a number. In the US, they pushed it to 2 months a person's salary. And get this, in Japan, where diamond engagement rings basically didn't exist at all, they ran the campaign and set the number at 3 months. So they literally chose how much of your money the tradition should cost per country, like items on a menu. The result of this was that by 1990, around 80% of brides had a diamond ring. They manufactured a global tradition out of thin air and convinced generations of people that it was ancient and romantic, when it was a supply problem solved by a slogan. So the next time someone mentions the 2-month salary rule like it is some sacred custom, know that that's just a mining company's marketing budget talking. So let's bring all of this home, because what does this have to do with girl math? I promise this is the same exact story. Girl math is the quirky narrative of it's cash, so it's free, it was on sale, so I actually made money, it's only $5 a day, cost per wear, and look, all of it is funny. I sometimes say it too. It's a cute joke, right? But here's what I need you to notice. Every single trick in this video works by getting a woman to not look too hard at what she's spending. Gillette softened shaving to smoothing. Bernays hid a purchase inside freedom, and De Beers buried a price tag inside forever. The whole game for 100 years has been to wrap spending in a feeling so that you don't examine the number that is underneath that. And girl math is just that, but in our own mouths. It's the same don't look too closely at the money logic, except we've made it into a personality trait and we do the marketing for them for free. We took women are silly and impulsive with money, which by the way is a stereotype that the research flat out does not support, because women are actually consistently the more careful and more thorough shoppers, and we've turned the insult into a cute little identity that we perform online. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be joking. Yes, joke, but know the difference between you making the joke and the joke being installed in you, because the same industries that invented your insecurities to sell you the cure are absolutely thrilled that it's basically free is now something that women say to themselves. So here's the actual takeaway, and it's not never buy anything marketed towards women, but it is whenever a purchase comes wrapped in a feeling, whether it's freedom, empowerment, romance, self-care, you deserve it. That wrapping is exactly where you should look hardest, because a feeling is the oldest trick there is for getting you to skip the math. So just make sure that you picked a feeling and that it wasn't handed to you in 1929. And if you want to learn more about how to manage your money, how to be more critical with your spending, but also doing it in a way that doesn't restrict you, how to make your money grow, and basically all things finance, I'd love to invite you to Rich Girl Academy, my membership and community where I cover all things money, from investing to budgeting to building wealth, and where you can ask me anything along the way. You can try it completely free for 7 days with the link in the description, and I would love to see you there.